Gundam.tk presents Double O Riser. Hey again everybody, Robert 184, 2Rs2Bs, good to have you here today as I take a look at the O Riser. For a little bit of context, the O Riser was the mid-season upgrade, if that makes any sense. So Exio was the hero for Double O's first season, and then in the second season, the second 25 episodes or so, it was the Double O Gundam, which halfway through the second season, just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Saji Crossroad, the greatest hero in the history of Gundam, flew in on a jet, well, a glorified space jet, the O Riser, which could combine with this Double O Gundam and form the Double O Riser. Now the way that went is the 1/100th was on sale first, the non-grade, and then they sold a separate O Riser, and then they sold a combined pack. But now it's time to put this one aside and focus on the master grade. When you build the Riser, everything that you need is on these 5 plates. So the M plate is the A plate, you could call it, of the O Riser with its 4 colors. And then you're going to have J, 2 O, 2 N's, and an O. You'll notice that though these plates are all used up, there's still a lot of blue parts that came off the main plates, meaning that they designed from day one that this was not supposed to be sold separately, unlike the 1/100th. When it's all complete, nothing too complex in terms of parts, you're going to get the side binders and the main fuselage. On these plates, you're also going to get the epicness that is the GN Sword 3. Lots of little extras, so make sure you have a Ziploc handy or they are going to go missing. And this is an attachment to put the GN Sword 3 underneath. You're going to get landing gear for the actual O Riser itself. If you don't have the landing gear in, you can put in these panels. One of them goes on the GN Sword 3, which actually has its own landing gear, believe it or not. You're also going to get this for the movie version of the O Riser, and this is an attachment to put it all up on an Action Base 1 and King Arthur himself, Saji Crossroad. I think that's worth a close-up or two. For comparison's sake, you have the high grade, the master grade, and the 1/100th. And just in terms of size, if you can make that out, the master grade is significantly smaller, sleeker, and hopefully that's going to result in less weight issues once you actually put it onto the drives. This is the non-grade just for mobility comparison, and you're able to move this part up and down. The side binders, these move up, but they don't move much more than that, and all the way down. And in the bottom, you've got a gun-looking thing there, and this part mounts onto the Double O Gundam, and if you bend that down, that mounts onto the O Riser, and this does not move. In comparison, the master grade for mobility moves like this, and these parts are able to bend this way and this way, depending on which one you put on which side. In the back here, you don't have any bend mechanism. This is right there. This locks into the O Riser. And for the most important thing, this is going to open up to reveal on the inside. You'll notice that there's a clear lens in there that you put a silver light or a silver sticker in there that should reflect the green light out of it if you buy the extra drives. In addition, these move off to the side and they just feel a little bit less toyish than the 1/100th, though you've got to be careful that this doesn't pop right off. So if you want to turn on these much ballyhooed lights, what do? Well, you pop this gray part forward, and when you remove that, inside you're actually going to have the mount mechanism that you put around the GN drives. And you've got the light there, which I've already got in, and so when you turn that on, and just a note, remember everybody that if you have the 1/100th with its drives, these LEDs are not the same as this one, so it's not going to work. So though it's a little bit annoying that you have to take this off, turn on the switch, and put it back on, when you do that, you're going to get just a hint of green shining through there, and when you open it up, that's what you're going to get. So you can see the green light coming through the lenses there, a little bit back up at the top, so if you look at it straight from the side, you would see some green inside there. Is that enough to justify hunting down the LEDs? That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. Here are the main bodies for the high grade, master grade, and 1/100th, and you'll notice that there's not a lot of size differences here, although I would say that the master grade is still just a little bit sleeker, and you'll notice that it's got a lot more lining on it. This is also in movie mode. Thanks again, Foz. First, back to the non-grade, you'll notice that it's got the blue and the gray underneath here, and the panels that you could take out to put on. Little things like stickers down there, and for the move mechanism here, you basically pop this out, and you'll notice that it slides out there, and then you bend this down here, and this is just on a ball joint here if you wanted to pop that out, and its mount mechanism goes like this, and it hooks in and slides down on the Double O Gundam. In comparison, the master grade, again, just a lot more lines. There should be panels here, here, and here, but I've taken them out just for the landing gear. And in the back, what you've got is just a little bit, these blue parts can open up ever so slightly. I don't really know if they're supposed to, but it doesn't hurt, they're not going to fall out. But you've got a much more secure mechanism here. This part, when it pops out, you get a satisfying click, and that bends down and seems to stay in place fairly well. And then this part, you actually have to pull it out and lock it down, and when you do that, this is going to be the mount mechanism. Putting this thing together could not be any easier. With no landing gear attached and a dirty turntable, there you have it, the master grade O-riser. And my first impression is, of course, this is it's smaller and it's sleeker, more streamlined, sharper lines. Everything about this just is an improvement on the 1/100th in comparison of style. Here's a straight-on comparison. The master grade on the right. You'll notice again that the side binders are just that much skinnier and sleeker. One nice thing about this so far is just that if you put it down, so far those binders are not bending in and collapsing, so you don't necessarily need the landing gear, although I wonder how that'll hold up over time. If you can make that out, you'll see that the 3 pieces of landing gear are in and they're all swept back. But there is a bit of a fail going on, because if you take a look here, the landing gear is down. When you bend these all the way in, the landing gear touches, but they could have just made the landing gear just a little bit longer so that you don't have to bend these parts all the way in and then rely on them for the extra stability. If you thought the GN Sword 1 and 2s were cool, well, you'll probably think that the 3 is as well. So in terms of the ends, first of all, this actually looks somewhat like a gun, which is a little bit hard to do considering that it could just be blocks of gray, as we've seen similar before. Up here you've got a bend mechanism, so that's going to go in to attach this onto the O-riser, and at the back here you'll notice that this part pulls out and up, and it actually has a bit of a slide mechanism if you wanted to have the sword going straight up, and the trigger moves somewhat independently before sliding in to this slot down here. And it's sort of neat to notice that this whole thing is not centered. Everything is, this trigger down here is asymmetrical. This gray part down here that plugs through the blue part is not, you're not able to move that out of the way, but if you bring the sword forward, here's what you're going to get. First of all, big bonus is that you've got 2 gray parts down here and 1 down there, so it's not just white all the way to the end, and as this slides through and plugs in, then you're going to get the top and bottom to look the same. You've got those on the side, and these 2 white panels are actually staying together very well. They've got some nice lining that Bandai has provided, and that green really pops, and especially to have the little bonuses of this extra wide part here, I think this whole weapon so far is a winner. I never bought the 1/100th GN Sword 3, which would have come with the double O-riser set, but here it is in high grade form. Again, you do have the white parts there for the green, not much lining along the white. The blue parts are similar, though with a little more detail in the master grade. Much more complex bend mechanism and trigger mechanism, as is fitting down there. And the high grade, when you bend that down, just has white here at the end, and the green shows right through, which is why I'm impressed with that extra touch of gray there. To get this whole thing mounted, you're going to take this attachment, plug it into the bottom, you can put the panels back on again, and then you'll plug the sword in. And you'll do that by bending out that there, and then plugging that in, and it actually fits quite securely. Then my favorite part of this whole thing is that, yes, the GN Sword 3 has its own landing gear, and you pop off this gray panel here, and when you plug that in, like that, and this impresses me to no end, that you've got the O-riser with the GN Sword 3 balanced there on its tiny little landing gear, and it's fairly secure. I mean, if you knock it, it's going to fall over, but it's easy to right, and just kudos to Bandai, you've got this just wide enough here at the bottom that with the landing gear, you can actually have this on display without an action base, and it looks really impressive. By popping out the panel and the landing gear, you can put in this custom attachment point. This comes on the O-riser plates. With an action base 1 celestial being, or whatever color you choose, the aerial O-riser. Again, it just makes the GN Sword 3 really stand out. The side binders look good. If you get everything lined up properly, I really do like the orange cockpit over the white, but so far, pretty pleasing. And for comparison's sake, here it is in its movie form with the cloudy white cockpit. Sort of looks like Saji's smoking back there. Overall, I have to say that I'm very impressed with pretty much every aspect of the O-riser, but the big test, of course, is going to be when you take this apart and starts draping it over its back and sides. And when it does that, the weight issues, of course, may diminish my enthusiasm for it. But if this was a separate model and you bought it, I think you'd be happy with it. It's got all sorts of moving parts, everything works, the streamlinedness, the lines, the mechanical designer did an excellent job when he designed this in the first place, but this master grade form really captured all of the power from the anime and actually increased it, a la the master grade Force Impulse, making something that's already okay into something a lot better. But the big winner for me is that GN Sword 3 that you can see down there. Everything about it just seems to work, but again, the big test is going to come once you actually take these Sword 2s out and put it in hand. But so far, full marks on this. Anyway, stay tuned everybody. I'm going to be building the Master Grade 00 Gundam and then combining it to make the 00 Riser, so why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below about the video or the kit itself. Love to hear from you all the time. Please hit like if you do, please hit don't if you don't, and subscribe if you don't want to miss any other videos. Thanks for watching everybody. See you next time. Now when you flip this over, well, the light's going to fall out. But it's actually staying on. That's pretty surprising. I think I said it before, but if the Master Grade DO was here, it would be in for a world of pain. Ah!